what else can I tell you? So I really enjoyed talking about BlizzCon with Swift Deus, and I'll give you a little bit of an insight into what we spoke about there. And we basically touched on, do you think this is going to be classic con? What do you think's going to happen? And we really broke it down, and I loved the way we did it. And he disagreed with me slightly, which I love because I don't like echo chambers. I like getting a little bit of pushback on some of the things that I say and saying, well, Josh, as much as I respect your opinion, you're actually, I think, wrong, and here's why, and that's fine. So there was some light disagreement, and that was great. I would always love a bit more of that. But basically, we broke down, the 2 days of BlizzCon and what we think might be coming, and just to basically paraphrase for you or summarize, I was of the belief that we are getting classic, a bit of classic material on day one of BlizzCon. The moral of my story was I think it would be a relatively poor decision. Where the fuck am I? Oh yeah, okay, Black Rock. Hey, I just spoke about this place the other day. I should know where I am. I spoke about how I think it would be a poor business decision on behalf of Blizzard. Well, not a poor business decision, perhaps let's say a poor marketing or PR decision to go through that first day of BlizzCon and not say anything about Classic. Sif, hey, how are you, man? Good to see you. So here's how I'm picturing it, and I want to preface this with, don't get me wrong, Blizzard can do whatever the hell they want to do, but and if they, let's say, we're living in a hypothetical world where they are going to be talking about Classic at BlizzCon, because I don't even want to think of the concept that they're not going to say anything at BlizzCon. That would just, considering I'm paying thousands of dollars to fly over from Australia to be there, that would just not be ideal for me. But if they are going to talk about Classic at BlizzCon, as we think they are going to, I think that if they delayed it, because basically what happened was, I think Swift Deus threw out the suggestion that they might do it as the last thing on the second day. And I said, and some of you might remember, please say something in chat if you remember this. When they announced Classic last year, I was of the impression, and I think I might be wrong in this one now that I think more about it, that was the last thing they did on the last day, that they basically said, oh, and before we go, here's Classic, mic drop, finish BlizzCon. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. Were any of you there, or did any of you watch on Virtual Pass? Because I would love to know where it was in time. If it was on the first day, if it was on the second day, if it was halfway through the second day, if it was at the start of the first day, I don't know. Just the way they presented it, it sounded like it was towards the end of BlizzCon. Tsunami, you say it was on the Friday, so it was on the second day last year. Do you know if it was towards the beginning, middle, Friday morning? Okay, so it was the start of the second day. That's interesting. All right, that's cool. So here's what I'll say about this, and tell me if you agree with me on this one. And we had two different situations. Obviously, going into BlizzCon last year, we did not know that Classic was coming. It was a surprise. That was the ta-da moment. So people didn't mind when it was announced because we didn't know it was coming. This year is a different story. This year, we know about Classic. And guess what? We're all expecting them to very much so talk about it. So, there's going to be a lot of Classic fans at BlizzCon. 30,000 people. I believe that a relatively strong contingent of those 30,000 visitors are going to be interested in Classic. I don't know. Do you think I'm crazy for saying, I don't know, conservative guess, 5,000 people will be there just for Classic of the 30,000? Do you think I'm lowballing it with that guess? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people who might mildly be interested in Classic, but I would say let's suggest that 20% of the crowd will go strictly as a pilgrimage for Classic. Okay, If we go with that 20% figure and 5 to 6,000 people, that's a lot of people. So that's a lot of people who are going to be really freaking upset if Blizzard doesn't talk about Classic. But even further than that, if we just presume they are going to be talking about Classic, when are they going to do it? I said they would be fools not to do it on the first day, and even actually relatively early on the first day to take it a step further, because here's why. You're going to have, and I'm working again on the proviso that I think now it would be smart, strangely, even though none of us want this and I'm not advocating for this, but I just think it's what's going to happen. We are not going to hear one word about Classic until BlizzCon. I think that's a reality that we're just going to have to accept from now on. Now that we've crossed the 7-month mark since it was announced and since we've gotten no news, 7 months, 12 months, not a huge difference, fine, whatever. I don't think we should be sitting around expecting a random drop of news in, I don't know, 8 weeks' time. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think we can all accept now that it would be smarter on Blizzard's behalf to just do a reasonable dump of information at the 1 year mark. We'll be pissed off that we had to wait a year, but when we get it, we'll get over it. So, and they've said, yes, we don't want to even talk about Classic until BFA is done. And that's fine. A lot of us have wrapped our heads around that concept, and I think some of us have begrudgingly accepted that reality. So, knowing that BFA will be out, and knowing that will be, 7-8 weeks after the release of BFA once we get to BlizzCon, we're standing there at day 1 at BlizzCon. What can we expect? Well, they should jump out on stage and talk about it, and here's why. In the hypothetical situation that they wait until day 2, you're going to get a lot of grumbling through that first day. And look, I don't condone this, and I joked about it in the call with Swift Deus, saying I used the word rioting, and I don't mean to use that word. Of course, I don't think that people will literally riot. I'm saying it tongue in cheek. But I jokingly said, like, people will riot if they wait until the end of the second day until they say something, because here's why. We're all going to be congregating in one spot, and you've seen in the BFA Q&As that they've been flooded by, whether you call it the classic trolls or the classic fans, and people are flooding the chat with, say something about Classic, talk Classic, 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 Classic. And Ian Hazzikostas has had to come on and address us first off, saying, look, guys, I appreciate that you want to hear about Classic, and we're working on it, but we're fucking here to talk about BFA, so have a bit of respect, please. And that's all fine during an online chat. Things are going to be different when you pull 30,000 people into one convention center, and you've got, of those 30,000, thousands perhaps in one hall waiting for panels. And what would happen? I don't know. I'm not saying this would happen. I would be worried this would happen. Sorry, I'm not worried this would happen. The Blizzard fans are very respectful. I'm giving a worst case scenario that would never happen. But all I'm saying is, if you got disgruntled people together, now they're suddenly chanting during panels, Classic, Classic, say something about Classic. Why won't you talk about Classic? Blizzard hates Classic. And I'm not saying that people would, what's the word I'm looking for? Heckle. Because obviously, you might get thrown out or whatever, but if I was Blizzard, I would be worried about that. And I'd be like, I don't want murmurs and people shouting weird, mean things while we're talking about other panels. I would just knock it out straight away and go, guess what? You want some fucking Classic news? Well, here it is, straight up, first day, in the morning, boom, done. That will satiate so many people. And then once we get the Classic news, we'll be like, oh, that's all I wanted. I'm great. Now I can enjoy BlizzCon. I had my fun. Hey, what's this? StarCraft 2? Hey, what's this? Overwatch? Yeah, sure, man. It's all gravy from here on. I don't care. They gave me my Classic news. And then that keeps the Classic fans super duper happy for the rest of the show. Do you understand what I'm saying, though? That if they choose not to do that, and it's funny because Swift Deus said that he thought they would do it last thing second day and do it again as the tongue-in-cheek joking, like, And that's BlizzCon. Oh, oh, what's that? You think we've got something else to talk about? Ah, you're right. You thought we wouldn't talk about Classic. Well, we got you. Alright, here's the Classic video. If they, and then they closed BlizzCon and that was literally the last thing that they did, I think people would not lose their minds. I think that would not go down well, and I think that would be a very, very poor marketing and PR decision on Blizzard's behalf. I would like to think that they have smarter people than that putting things together for scheduling. And sorry, I'd say that with the utmost of respect to Swift Dais's suggestion. I'm not suggesting that it's a dumb thing to think that they'll do it last. I just think it's the poorer of two choices. I think you've got the choice of doing it early, and I think you've got the choice of doing it late. And I think doing it late is the poorer choice. Knock it out early, satisfy us, and then guess what? You have got us all slapping you on the back for the next 48 hours. Guess what happens if they wait till day 2 as well? Here's another situation. You get all those fans congregating that night, getting on the drink, getting a little bit, sauced up, and they're a little bit angry. And now it's not as much of a happy vibe, and now they're, well, not angry, I won't say angry, I'll say tense. Now they're tense, and now there's thousands of Blizzard fans drinking around the Hilton and stuff that night going, dude, they didn't talk about Classic today. And I know we've got tomorrow, but they better fucking talk about tomorrow, because I'm getting really tense that I flew all this way out here and I spent thousands of dollars and they're not going to talk about Classic. This was supposed to be the Classic Con, man. What's going on? What's going on? Like, I'm taking it with a little bit of hyperbole, obviously, as well. I don't, think people are going to freak out. But I'm sure, tell me if you know what I'm saying, that it will just cause everyone's sphincters just to tighten that little bit more if they wait until the second day. And I don't think that's in Blizzard's best interests. So, once again, if anyone from Blizzard happens to ever see this, like I say, if anyone from Blizzard ever happens to listen to the podcast, here I am, yet again, giving you free marketing and PR advice. Take it on board, Blizz. Get it out of the way early and let everyone, including yourselves, just enjoy BlizzCon.